rising on, just you watch. I'm stepping into fate. There is no time to waste.
Tade Cash. Tade Cash is a world-class cash flow entrepreneur and investor, a super wealth coach, legendary closer, and an educator. He's the co-founder of more than 5 cash-rich businesses and believes that assets should be predictable, consistent, and perpetual income that funds our lifestyle. It shows individuals, companies, and nations how to unlock the hidden assets that would create perpetual, consistent, and predictable prosperity for them. He is the creator of the Short and Sell program and the Money Mastery program. He is the author of Shut Up and Collect the Money, the Money Mastery Revolution, Build Assets, Not Just a Business, as well as the Wealth Genotype. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome on stage Tade Cash. Tade Cash. Tade Cash is a world-class cash flow entrepreneur and investor, a super wealth coach, legendary closer, and an educator. He's the co-founder of more than 5 cash-rich businesses and believes that assets should be predictable, consistent, and perpetual income that funds our lifestyle. It shows individuals, companies, and nations how to unlock the hidden assets that would create perpetual, consistent, and predictable prosperity for them. He is the creator of the Short and Sell program and the Money Mastery program. He is the author of Shut Up and Collect the Money, the Money Mastery Revolution, Build Assets, Not Just a Business, as well as the Wealth Genotype. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome on stage Tade Cash.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. So glad to be here with you again today. Sorry for this excessive, massive lateness today. 2 things caused it, and I need to explain. Firstly, it's about in our studio, almost all our internet were literally shut down. We don't know why, all the internet we use to do live streaming were shut down. And with my wonderful team led by Josh, trying to get everything together, for the past more than an hour now. So we're sorry for coming late into this place. And I promised you still give to you the best that I can. So thank you for coming today. And I want to share with you something that I believe if you pay attention to it, and it's going to literally change your life. And to be candid, I have nothing to hide from you today. And just the way I've always been, I just want to share with you what has worked for me for more than a decade now. it has been the fundamental principles in which our own business has been built on. And to lay the foundation, this business we're talking about, run in about four states in Nigeria, and we run in about 5 countries, and we have affiliates and associates in 3 continents of the world, from Australia to America to London to Spain to Italy, South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Namibia, Ghana, and we operate from South Africa, and these it's fundamental principles that we use in all across board with our partners and all of that, and the principles that have helped us to literally change. So today I'm starting by telling you a very small story, and please just follow me. So I grew up. I was born 4 decades ago. I was born more than 4 decades now. Okay, I was born 4 decades ago plus, and I was raised by. I said I'm a SOBs. I'm son of a bestseller. And my mom is a bestseller. She's quite an interesting human being, and my father happened to be an headmaster, a school teacher that ended up heading a school, working in the Ministry of Education. And I grew up inside of Lagos, that is called Ijesha in Lagos, Nigeria. I grew up in a place called Ijesha in Lagos, Nigeria. I went to local primary school and secondary school together within the same axis and environs. If I could say, I went to a primary school called, what's the name of that primary school again? Okay, Chidwadi Primary School, and then I went to Ijesha Boys Secondary School, which I think it's a boys and girls school now. And so I grew up that way. And one thing that happened, falling back over the other, um, I was given back to in the house. I was given back to in the house, and so my parents moved from one room apartment to another room apartment in a side of Ijesha called Adamolekun, to be precise. And I think my parents moved into that house. I can't remember clearly now, but I think my parents moved into that house when I was the age of 5. I remember the day that they packed the load. Personally, I was brought into that house late at night, in which we have to ride on a plank, because the plank, there was still water here and there. The name of the street is Adamoleko, for the sake of people that love to verify things. So I grew up there, number 8 to be precise. The house has been demolished now, and there is a new house that is built in it. But I grew up in that environment. The place wasn't totally fully developed. I remember there is a very popular church around the community now called Lord Choosing. I think they call them Lord Choosing Charismatic. And that church will happen to be an environment where we used to play football and we used to catch fish. When we're growing up, coming from school, we cross to the other side of the road. We just play football. I love sport, especially football. I play football a lot, quite popular in my secondary school days as a amateur footballer. And so I grew up in all of those environments. I grew up living in that one room apartment with a couple of my siblings, and my parents trying to gather money one way or the other to pay the rent, and so that we can live in that space. And so I was just this young boy that I started becoming observant as I grew. The other side of our area, which today is called Okota, Ikotun, Ejigbo, and all of that, were literally an absolute bush when I was growing up. And there was nothing there except water, Isolo, or just imagine when I was growing up. Okota was literally nothing to write home about when I was growing up. So I grew up in that space. And why am I saying all of this thing to you today? Because there's somewhere I'm going, and I believe the model I want to show you today the certain way real estate investing, you can literally use them to change your life, because we have built a business and a company around them. And it's something that I just choose this year 2023 to share with you. It can change your world. It can literally mold your life if you follow it. And for some people that have sent me mails, that have tried how to buy real estate one time or the other, but it seems not working for them. The truth is, it can work for anyone. We just need to change some certain things, and that's why I've decided to serve you by giving you this content. Okay, and so I grew up in those places. I grew up in that environment, and it was a very, the other side was a very something else. Now, when I was growing up, the houses were, I was talking about late 80s, and then early 90s, and the old places were just emerging and all of that. Houses, you pay a little bit of rent and all of those things. About a year ago, I had opportunity to go back to where I grew up because something took me to that access. And someone was having a conversation with me because they were trying to give me an offer to buy a particular set of properties in that zone. And I was so amazed about 2 weeks ago, thereabout, a friend of mine that still live in that community was telling me about my childhood friend. And he was telling me about how a two-room apartment or two-bedroom apartment and three-bedroom apartment, as it were, is going for a million, 1.5 million, 1.8 million within that axis. And you get to wonder that I just look back at 15 years ago, literally about 20 years ago, and you're wondering what has happened. Coupled with inflations and all of those things, everything has changed. But this is it. The people that were living in Ijesha, the people that were living in Agulejika, that axis in which I grew up, they had opportunity to become a massive landlord in, Okota, Isolo, Jakonde, and all of those things. But most of them never. Most of them never owned anything in that place. Most of them never took advantage in that place. Some people will say, oh, maybe they didn't have the money. But the truth is, it has nothing to do with money. There are several ways to own a property. Money is just one of them. And what have really happened? Why? What is it that they did not see? What is it that, they did not take an advantage of? And that is one of the challenges of a lot of people. That's one of the biggest problems that people have on their journey in their lives, in their journey with real estate in creating wealth. And so today I want to share this concept with you. What is going to cost you if you don't really pay attention to what I'm saying? Let me quickly tell you what's going to cost you. Number one, it's going to cost you of having leverage in life. What is leverage? Ability to do more with less. Because the first leverage of life is perception. I will say that again. The first leverage of life is perception. So ability to see things differently. I think a massive and a great writer many, many years ago said something. He said, I think his name is Winnie Dyer. Winnie Dyer says, if you change the way you look at things, what you're looking at is going to change. So the first thing that you need to change is to change the way you are looking at things. And the moment you change the way you are looking at things, what you look at will change. So what is the first thing that you need to change? You need to change the way you look at properties. You need to the way you relate with real estate, perception. Because 90% of error in decision is an error of perception. So if you can get your perception right, you are going to get so many things right in your life. So that's how I grew up. Today, by privilege, I've been able to do 4 estates in the same axis where I grew up. We had one estate in. We have 2 estates in Isolo, Jakonde. We have another estate in Ikotun. We have another estate at the other side of Ijedudu to Satellite Town. You know what? In the space of a couple of years. Now, what really happened is very simple, because I took the perception and I changed the whole narrative. But the whole lesson of today is that I want to give you a concept. I want to give you a template. I want to be able to give you a template that when you wake up in the morning, anywhere that you find yourself in the world, you can certainly become rich with real estate, because it's not about Lagos, it's not about just Nigeria, but this is the context in which I'm sharing with you. But I've had my student in Botswana, I've had my student in Lesotho, I've had my student in Nigeria, I've had my student in South Africa, I've had my student in Australia, I've had my student in different part of the world. You know what happened? Because they are able to take this concept and just apply it to the locality where they find themselves. So how do you start a concept? What are the two things that you need to fully understand if you want to really change your life and make real estate something? There are things I'm going to be saying today. It's going to challenge your perception. It's going to challenge what you believe. It's going to challenge your paradigm. But just follow me. What's the first thing I want to say to you? Write this down if you can. Type it on your if you can. Number one is that land does not have value in itself. Land does not have value in itself. There is no value in lands. They say, somebody will say, this land will keep growing in value. The truth is, land does not have value in itself. Land is just land. Land does not have value in itself. And what I'm going to be sharing with you, it's what shows how you put value on a land. And if you understand that land does not have value in itself, because if land has value in itself, why is it that some land in some places are more expensive than land in another places? That means on its own, if land has value in itself, every land everywhere should create wealth for people. Why is it not so? Why is it not so? But there's something about land that you need to understand. If you're not living on the top of the ocean right now, I want you to do me a favor. Wherever that you are, except you are driving, wherever that you are, look around you. Look around you. What is one thing that you will see as you look around you? One thing that you will see as you look around you is land. There is land, except you're on the ocean. There is land around you. There is land. You are standing on a land right now. So there is land. There is land where you are. That's number one. Number two, look around you again. What is the other thing that you're going to see? You get it? You're going to see people. Now, that means that there are two things that when you look around you, you are going to see. You're going to see land and you're going to see people. Now, how you can relate with land and people determine the value of real estate and how real estate can create you a fortune. Now, how do you relate with land and people determines the value of real estate and how you are going to create a fortune from real estate. Now, a lot of people don't know how to have a sound perception about land and people. A lot of people don't know how to create a proper integration with land and people. A lot of people don't know how to do these things, and as a result of that, they make a terrible mistake thinking that land has a value on its own. Land does not have value on its own. You have to be land with people. That means how you can create a connection. It is that connection that determines the value of real estate, and that determines who creates fortune with real estate. Now look at it. A farmer has a land. Now follow me, follow this train of thought. A farmer has a land so that he can plant whatever he want to plant. Now the moment the farmer needs it bought the land is valuable to the farmer because there is a stream of water that can be connected to the farmer being able to put his maize now and then plant the maize and going to get the corn. But guess what happened? The water ceased to flow, and so the farmer cannot get that stream of water to flow to the land. This land, as a farmer, this land is no more valuable to the farmer because he cannot use the land to achieve his purpose. As a result of that, the farmer can put that land for sale. Now, you now realize one of the reasons why people put land for sale. People put land for sale because it sees having value for them. The value that they place on it does not exist again. So what that means, it means that you have to first and foremost understand the relationship between land and people. If you can have a sound relationship between land and people, you will create fortune from real estate. I'm talking about certain way of creating real estate fortune that will make you rich for sure. It's about land and people. It's about land and people. This LP must be properly understood. Land and people is a pattern that you must understand. That means if you look around you, you're going to see land. If you look around you, you're going to see people. Now, the value that the people that is around that land place on themselves determines the value of the land. So this is the next thing that you need to write down. Remember the first thing I told you to write, that the land does not have value in itself. So stop believing what people say. Some real estate people will tell you this land will keep growing in value. That's a lie. Land does not grow in value. Land is just land. That's number one. Land does not grow in value. Land does not have value in itself. Then what is number two? Number two is that the value, if a land has value at all, it is the value that people place on it. Hello? If a land has value at all, it is the value that people place on the land. So let me give you an instant now. So we wanted to make a place to be valuable, and then we decided to create it like an island. And then you look for a few key persons of influence, and you were able to persuade them to now build a residence there. So I decided to have Tony Lumelu, Bill Gates, Dangote, Michael Otedola, Tade Cash, you know what I'm talking about. And then you put all of these people to live in this particular land. What happened? The land that seemingly seems not to have any value before suddenly have a value. Why? Because you place value on the people that are now staying on the land. Now, because you place value on the people that are now staying on the land, guess what happened next? The price that the land will be sold for is now going to be more higher. So that's why Warren Buffett says, price is what you pay, value is what you get. So if price is what you pay and value is what you get, then who put value on the land? How does a land has a value? How do you know that this land that I'm going to put my money on, I'm buying, haven't done all my proper due diligence and investigation? What is going to determine the value of this stuff? Now, most people don't understand this. And so as a result of that, they just think, oh, somebody's just going to buy, let me just buy land. Land always grow in value. No, land does not grow in value. Land is just land. It is people that put value on the land. So it is the value that people have on themselves that also reflect on the land in which they are standing. So that is the key. And so land and people, you have to understand the relationship between both of them for you to be able to create fortune from real estate. So that is the first thing that you need to understand. Now, a lot of people don't understand this. So because they don't understand this, they don't seem to get things in a way that will help them to create fortune for the rest of their life. So land and people. If you don't know how to create a proper integration between land and people, you cannot create a fortune using real estate as a tool. Now, because real estate have to be used as a tool for you to create assets. So the first thing is perception. The way you look at land, the way you look at yourself, the way you look at your environment, the way you look at everything around you, and that is going to change the narrative for you. So someone asks a question and said, Tade, how do you then know the land is going to make you money? How do you then know these things? Now, as we go on in the class today, you're going to get some of these details, and I'm going to give you this full template that I use, the formula that we use in our company, the formula that I've used over the years, and begin to look at these things in everywhere that you go. And you realize that wherever you go, you see people and you see land, and you can create this connectivity between the people and the land. You will be able to create wealth for sure in your real estate journey. So let's go on and let's go further. So what's the next thing that you need to get? You need to know that the lease document, the real estate we give to you, is what we call certificate of occupancy. Hey, Tade, what are you talking about? I think that's the highest document. Certificate of occupancy. Yes. From the external point of view, that seems to be the highest document. But there are 3 C of O that a land must have. Wow. That's what are you talking about? Yeah, there are 3 C of O that a land must have. And because most people don't have this, I'm giving you this system because this is what a system that we use. Now, this C of O that a land must have. Now, let me give you a very clear one. The list of this C of O is what you call certificate of occupancy that the government of a place give to you about the land. And so now this guy have a certificate of ownership. But there are three kinds of C of O. That is the list. I want to give it to you today. What are the two other one? The first one is what I call circumstances of ownership. Oh, circumstances of ownership. What does that mean? What does that mean? Now, the moment you get that thing, you were going to create fortune in real estate like this. The circumstances of ownership. What does it mean? What's the circumstances of ownership? Write this down if you can. There is no property problem. There is only ownership problem. There is no property problems. There is only ownership problem. What does that mean? There is problem of ownership. Now, circumstances of ownership. What does that mean? Three questions that establish circumstances of ownership. What can I use this land for? How long can I own this land? Who else will want this land after I use it for what I've used it for? I will say that again. What can I use this land for? Who else? How long can I own this land? Who else would desire this land because of what I've used it for? That is the question of circumstances of ownership. Now, a lot of people don't ask about the circumstances of ownership. Now, the value of a land. So I'll begin to give you an instance. So I'll go from different angles. Let me go back to Botswana. Last year, we decided to buy a property in Botswana. And then when we bought the property in Botswana, the partner that was taking us around to show us different properties in Gaborone precisely. It was taking us to different places. I was in Botswana for almost 7 days, my partner and I, and we wake up in a hotel room in the morning. We hop into the cab, and they take us around the city of Gaborone. And first day we said, we don't want this. Second day, because you see, we are not in love with land. We are in love with our plan. See, and because of the circumstances of ownership. We're not in love with the land. I'm not in love with land. I'm in love with my plan. So my plan is important to me that the land is just a delivery mechanism to help me carry out my plan. What's my plan when I'm buying land? I'm buying land to get rich, for sure. That's my plan. Now, if I'm not going to get rich, I'm not going to get rich by luck. I want to get rich for sure. So we were moving first day, second day. We went to Francistown, almost at the border of Gaborone. We were in different places, and we're going from place to place, from town to town. And guess what happened? We weren't getting what we want. We said to the guy, no, this is not what we're looking at. You know what? Because we're following a template. We have an economy plan, not an emotional plan. So we're following a template, which I'm going to share with you before the end of the day, what you look for, the template, the 7 template that I look for. And when I found 5, 6 of this template, and the other requirements have been met, I go for the asset because I'm very certain it's going to make me rich for sure. And then I plotted for this land, and at the end of the day, we got the land. Now, let me give you the circumstances of ownership because we know what we wanted to use the land for. So we're looking at what we wanted to use the land for. We changed the narrative of the place, and we're looking at what else in the proximity of the environment that can change the narrative of the place combined with what we are doing. And we're able to get something that changes our lives. And, that's the point. And so we're able to do that. And someone asked me one time, and say, Tade, how do you know this land is going to make you money? Number one, circumstances of ownership. You need to understand your circumstances of ownership. Why do you want it? Why do you want to buy it? What do you want to use it for? Its purpose. You must have a purpose for it. You must know what you want to achieve with the stuff. Circumstances of ownership. This kind of C of O is amazing because a lot of people never understand it. They've never heard of it before until now. The circumstances of ownership. The circumstances of ownership. That's number one. Number two is what I call the consciousness of occupiers. Ooh, what do you mean by that? What do you mean? Circumstances of ownership, consciousness of occupiers. Now, neighborhood. I would rather buy, the neighborhood in which I'm going. Now, a lot of people have said something about a place in Lagos, Ibejuleki, Ibejuleki in 15 years down the line, 15 years ago, the likes of where Dangote refinery is now. I bought my first land in that access about, I think about 10 years, about 9 years ago. And guess what happened? I followed the same model, the same asset that I bought for only God knows how much, less than a million, has turned to almost 20, 30, 40 million now per plot. How did that happen? Am I surprised? Absolutely not. Because I follow what I'm just sharing with you. I follow what I'm just sharing with you. I make money for investors because I follow this model, and I'm giving you this that you can use it in your own life. You can use it in buying land. When someone comes to you and say, "Man, come and buy this," look at your own circumstances of ownership. The next thing that you look at the consciousness of the occupiers. What is the consciousness around the place? In a nutshell, what is the neighborhood like? What is in the neighborhood? What is the proximity? What is happening there? What can happen there? What are the things? What is the area zoning for? For you that not in Nigeria, you can look at the zoning of a place. You can look at what is springing forth in that environment. You can look at what are the things that I need that is already happening here. There are spots of things. What can we use this place for? Let me give you an instance. I think it's almost about 20 years ago. I'm not sure about the date right now, but a place called Tropicana, somewhere in Lagos, at the extreme of the border of Lagos and Ogun State, and almost at the Ekpe axis. A man built what they call a massive, one of the biggest resorts in Nigeria there, Lacampine Tropicana. And this Lacampine Tropicana has been there when that axis was nothing. But number one, he look at the circumstances of ownership and he look at the consciousness of the occupiers. Who are the kind of people that you want to bring into that place? And what is the idea behind what you want to build? Now, this is what creates value. And year in, year out, as the year comes by, the place look like an old wine that every day it gets better. It tastes sweeter. They make more money. The rooms and there are some presidential lodge in that place that is like 200, 300,000. You know what happened? Because someone gets something right. Circumstances of ownership, consciousness of occupiers. And after you get these two things, then you go to let me now perfect the document because I found the value. Then you now go to the certificate of occupancy. Now, the certificate of occupancy, it's just that I now have a certificate to own this place that I have seen the value in myself, that I'm going to erect a value on. But owning a certificate in a place that you can't find this level of value is just wasting your money. And this is what a lot of people do not understand. And that is what I want you to understand today. Number one, what's your perception? Number two, what's your purpose? Number three, what is your plan? And number four, what property is going to help you to achieve these three things? And that's why I said that when it comes to investing in real estate, this investment has four legs. The first leg is a leg of perception, the way that you see things. What are you looking at? If you look at the story now, Dangote refinery changed the entire narrative of Ibejuleki axis, for instance. Because the Lekki Free Trade Zone is changing the narrative. And so many things are happening. If you go to a pay axis of Lagos and so many areas in Lagos today, so many things are changing because you need to understand what is my circumstance of ownership, what is the consciousness of the occupiers, and then we talk about the certificates of occupying these things that I've just mentioned. So Number one is the value. The value is in people. The value is not in the land. And the value that is in people is a function of your consciousness, of your perception, of your plan, and of your purpose. Now, the land is the least of these legs because the leg of the property is the least that sounds the plan, it sounds your purpose, and it is built on the leg of perception. Now, if you don't have all of these things put together, guess what's going to happen to you? You are going to literally be wasting your resources and you're going to be wasting your land. So people say to me that I want to buy land. I don't so have so much money. It's not about how much money that you have. It's about how big and how interesting your purpose and your plan is. And you need to first have the right view and you need to first write the right perspective. What do you want to do with the land? How do you want the land to serve you? Because, and what value do you see in the land? What do you want to use the land for? And now, in my book, The Real Estate Cash Flow Machine, I spoke about the value of a thing is in what the thing can be used for. If you change the usage, you will change the value. There are some land in a place right now that if you bring a new level of usability to it, you will change the profitability of it. And that is the creativity that you must bring into it. If you change the value, if you change the usage, you will change the value. The law of usability says the value of a thing is determined on what we can use it for. So, Walt Disney in America, for those of you that have been to Disney World, you will see the place. In the story of the place, once stated that the place was just a massive bush that somebody saw, and he saw a massive city that people will want to come in and live their life there. It brought a perception, it brought a plan, it had a purpose, and the property were just the servants to make them achieve that. So there was a circumstances of ownership, there was a consciousness of occupier, and then they get things done. So why do you want to buy the asset? If everything being done right, what is the purpose? Oh, I just want to buy it and keep it. That is not a right way to do it. That sounds like a dumb way to buy an asset. Because the truth is not an asset for you if it does not pay you. It's not an asset for you if it cannot make you richer. It's not an asset for you if it cannot make you. So, what model? What is the framework? So I say this, if you're going to get rich with real estate, it has to be a framework, not a guesswork. And so a lot of people are using the guesswork, or because a marketer show up in your space or a broker show up in your space and say, buy this land, buy this. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It works on the fundamental lessons that you must know the usage. If you change the usage, you will change the value. Because land does not have value in itself. Land does not have value in itself. If you change the usage, you will change the value. Now, what can you use it for? So let me give you an example that I cited in my book, Real Estate Cash Flow Machine. There was a place, if you go through a place in Lagos, for the people that are conversant with Lagos, there is a place called Computer Village. Somewhere in the edge of Lagos, not far away from where our studio is right now. And then once upon a time, our office used to be around that access. And one day I was being driven to work and I saw a particular place where it's just a very short, small land that someone rented or leased the land. Guess what he was using the land for? He was using the land to park cars, and it will collect 500 naira from every user of that place to park their cars. And join me to do a small math right now. Each day, this guy park 100 cars. How much is 100 cars with 500 naira? This land is less than half a plot of land, less about 300 square meter. Someone just have the land and they leave it there for a while. So 500 naira times 10 is going to give you 50. It's going to give you 5,000 times 100 is going to give you 50,000. 50,000 times 5 is going to give you 250,000 times. So I'm not counting the Saturday to it now. I'm very deliberate. Now let's leave the money for Saturday to the gods. Okay, times 5 times 4 is going to give you how much? 1 million. 1 million in a month from using a small space. You have not done anything on the land. The land is there. Times 12. It's going to give you 12 million. Times 10 is going to give you how much? 120 million. Now, the question is the land, by changing the usage of the land that they own, by looking at the people's benefit, desires, needs, pains. Guess what happened? He was able to create an asset. So where you own the land, when you look at the circumstances of ownership, where you are buying the land, you have to look at the consciousness of the occupiers. What are the needs? What are the desires? What are the aspirations? What are the things that this land can be used for that will draw people to this place? That value have to proceed from you, and then as a result of that, it will change your life. So having looked at the genuinity of what you were buying, having looked at the authenticity of what you were buying, having looked at all of those details, the reason land will make you money, you can buy a legit land and you will still not make any legit money. Why? Because it's not about just buying it legit. You have to have a sound process of understanding the people's benefit, which is the key to creating prosperity from an asset, which most people don't say to you. So the certain way that will make you money in real estate is to understand this. Either you buy it in Lagos, you buy it in Ogun State, either you buy it in Delta, either you buy it in Port Harcourt, either you buy it in Abuja, either you buy it, name the state in Nigeria. And you know, I've had students from Kwara, I've had students from Ilorin, I've had students from Delta State, I've had people from Port Harcourt, and I've shown them this same model. They've paid me millions just to show them this model, and they have gone to implement it in that place, and they have created wealth. Why? Because it works everywhere. I can tell you, it works all the time. This has taken me years to be able to put down this document, and I've been able to help people with it, and I'm giving it to you for free today. And if you can take what I'm saying to you and you can apply them into your life, it's going to be awesome. So now, what have I shared with you? I've shared something with you. I've told you that land does not have value in itself. Land is just land. That if there is any value that land produces, is the value that people put on it. Now, and I've told you that there are three C of O's. There is circumstances of ownership, there is consciousness of occupiers, and there is certificate of occupancy. And this is it. If you are able to look at that, when you look around you, you will see two things constantly all the time. Except you are living in a thick forest, you are living in a dungeon, or you are living on top of the sea, you will see two things: land, and you will see people. Now, this LP helps you to now know your correlation and the combination of land and people determines your fortune from real estate. And so this is the fundamental. This is the first thing that your mind needs to be set on. And when you understand that, you now begin to think about the people's benefit on this land that I'm using. I just give you an example. Rather than that person first building something on it, you understand that the people's benefit on this similar asset that I own now can generate for me 120 million naira within the space of 10 years without putting anything on it, just make it available for people to park their cars so that they can get to do what they want to do. What is the best use of the land that you're buying? What is the highest and the best use of the asset? Did you know it? Have you thought about it? Now, this is the perception, the purpose, and the plan that you must have before you buy the asset. So land that will get you rich for sure has four legs. The first leg is perception. The second leg is the purpose for it. The third leg is the plan that will serve the purpose. And the fourth leg is the property itself that will help you to take care of all of these three things. Now, most people never think about the purpose. They never have a plan. So when people come to me and they say, I want to buy this, I want to do that, I take them through this framework to be able to understand. Because getting rich for sure through real estate is a framework, not a guesswork. And because a lot of people don't understand and don't have the framework, sorry to say to you, sad to say, even the people that are selling the land to you, most of them don't understand. Maybe perhaps that they now listen to this and listen to this and humble enough to begin to follow this process, it will work for them. So if you don't understand this, you need to understand what I've just said. So this helps you to do all of these things. So then, I told you at the beginning how I grew up and where I grew up. Now, how can someone that is somewhere right now begin to see fortune under their feet? There are There are 6 models. I'm going to be sharing fundamentally the 4 of these models with you right now, absolutely for free. And after I go on this short break, and I'll be back in like 2 minutes, and I will share this model with you. Put it on the comment what you're learning. Let me know what you're picking up from what I'm putting down. It will be interesting to know. And I'll be back in 2 minutes to now share this other template with you and how you can begin to go around and spot things and before you buy them. That will make you rich for sure. This is a certain way of investing in real estate. And if you follow them, it will definitely make you rich for sure. I'll be right back. I'm still your host, Taddy Cash.
Tade Cash. Tade Cash is a world-class cash flow entrepreneur and investor, a super wealth coach, legendary closer, and an educator. He's the co-founder of more than 5 cash-rich businesses and believes that assets should be predictable, consistent, and perpetual income that funds our lifestyle. It shows individuals, companies, and nations how to unlock the hidden asset that would create perpetual, consistent, and predictable prosperity for them. He is the creator of the Short and Sell program and the Money Mastery program. He is the author of Shut Up and Collect the Money, the Money Mastery Revolution, Build Assets, Not Just a Business, as well as the Wealth Genotype. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome on stage Tade Cash. Tade Cash. Tade Cash is a world-class cash flow entrepreneur and investor, a super wealth coach, legendary closer, and an educator. He's the co-founder of more than 5 cash-rich businesses and believes that assets should be predictable, consistent, and perpetual income that funds our lifestyle. It shows individuals, companies, and nations how to unlock the hidden asset that would create perpetual, consistent, and predictable prosperity for them. He is the creator of the Short and Sell program and the Money Mastery program. He is the author of Shut Up and Collect the Money, the Money Mastery Revolution, Build Assets, Not Just a Business, as well as the Wealth Genotype. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome on stage Tade Cash.
Thank you very much. I hope you are picking lessons. We're seeing your comments. It would be nice to you take some of the things you learn, tweet at us, tweet at me, post on Facebook. Hashtag CertainWay Real Estate with Taddy Cash. The lessons you are learning, the things you are picking, and how you're going to use them. Like I've told you, I've just decided to be vulnerable to you by showing you the template that we are using to be able to help our investors, help ourselves. I've used this model over the last 12, 13 years, and it has never failed. And you can take it to the next level, my friend. Okay, baby, take it to the next level. Move it up and use it. Now, like I said to you, this next section, I want to share with you, I've given you the perspective. I've shown you the paradigm. Now I want to show you the practice, the patterns that you can now use, because it goes from perception to paradigms to patterns and practice. Now, in a twofold, I'm going to be showing you the patterns and the practice. Now, so how do you know? How will you start it? If you're a rector, how do you know that what you're about to present to people to buy is going to make them rich? If you are an investor, how do you know? Now, before I go into that, let me quickly share another patterns with you. And it's right there in my book, The Compel Strategy, which is part of what I'm sharing with you wholeheartedly today. Is that there are people that are possessors of land and there are people that are investors in land. And what does that mean? The reason why some people never get rich with real estate was because they are literally thinking as a possessor, not an investor. Now, how do you think as how do you know a possessor, not an investor? A possessor thinks about residence, not returns. A possessor thinks about distance, not substance. And so, how do you know that? A possessor will tell you, they will say there is a land in a particular place. He's not going to follow the method, the patterns, and what I'm going to show you today. He's rather going to say, wow, that place is far. Now, when the person is saying that place is far, is literally saying that place is far from where I work or where I live. Unknown to the person, you never ask yourself a question. Is it far from prosperity? Is it far from abundance? Is it far from financial freedom? If it's not far from financial freedom, if it's not far from prosperity, it's going to go for it as an investor. Because you see, possessor never buys a land you cannot live in. But an investor buys a land that he can fund his living. I'll say that again. A possessor never buys a land that he cannot live in. An investor buys a land that can fund his living. Because what is more important? If my living can be funded without worries, I can choose to live anywhere that I want and pay for it. By the way, paying for it will not mean me paying for it. It means my asset paying for it. Because my vanity, I have some level of vanity. I still want to have more vanities, like fly my own jet, have my own yacht and all of those stuff. You get what I'm talking about? But this is what happened. The difference between me and you may be that I'm not going to have those things with my sweat. I'm going to have them with my asset. So I'm not buying where I can live in two houses at the same time. I cannot sleep on two beds at the same time. So I don't want to live my life on just one bed. I want to have thousands and millions of dollars. I want to have lands and lands and lands and land that can fund my life. So in the year 1995, and less before 2000, my uncle bought a land in Lekki Phase 1. When Lekki Phase 1 were just trying to find its bearing. And in the year 2005 or 2007, thereabout, my uncle that happened to be a pilot sold one of the land that he bought. By the way, at that time, he was living somewhere in Surulere, the house that was bequeathed to him by the government because he was a pilot. And guess what happened to him? One of the land was sold to send his daughter to school in the United Kingdom. What happened is this. If he has only wanted to buy where he will live, he would not have taken advantage of that opportunity to buy that land at that time. So possessors often miss out on possessions that will change their prosperity. So they are like they think differently because it boils down to the same thing: perception, purpose, plan. Because when those three legs are not there, the four legs is useless. So you need to understand why all of these things. So are you a possessor? If you want to follow the CertainWay real estate, you are not going to be a possessor. You have to be an investor. An investor thinks about usability. What can we use this land for? What can this land do for me? Okay, I'm not going to buy a house because I'm going to live there. I'm going to buy a house that people want to live in. Now, so there are some assets that we have right now that I can't literally live in those places, but this is what happened to me. There are people that want to live in those apartments and they are willing to give us tens of millions every year to live in that place. I'm an investor. I'm not a possessor. You see, I buy land based on economy plan, not an emotional plan. A possessor buy land based on emotion. An investor buy land based on economy plan. It's about the economy plan. I don't want to sack a landlord. By the way, I don't want to be a landlord. I want to be an economic lord. That is the purpose of an investor. You are an economic lord. You want to be a lord over your own economy. You want to be able to rule your own economy. You don't want to sack any landlord. You don't want to have an asset to oppress, to impress. Rather, you want to own an asset to have an expression, to be able to express your freedom. And that's it. Okay? Because that's what is important to you. So think about it. Are you a possessor or are you an investor? Most people, they don't. You see, if you're an investor, the more the merrier, because one does not multiply. So it takes two to begin to experience the power of multiplication. So an investor wants more, legally, morally, credibly. So I want to have more because the law of average favors the laws of large numbers. So I want more, not less. So I think as an investor, to an investor, distance is not a problem. It is whether what you're selling to me has a level of substance. Because think about it. There are people that live in Nigeria and bought a house in the United States of America. There are people that live in Nigeria and bought a house in the United Arab Emirates. Why? Because it's not about distance, it's about substance. Now, so you can live in Victoria Island and buy land in Ogun State. It depends on the circumstances of ownership. It depends on so many things. Why is it that somebody will take a factory to a particular state and you are asking why are they going to build a factory there? Because of the circumstances of ownership. Now, why is it that a company will take its headquarters to India? Circumstances of ownership, consciousness of occupiers. It's the same thing. Think like an investor. Think like an investor. Don't just think residence, think returns. You see, if you buy the house or the land in which you build your house from the perspective of an investor, not a possessor, you are still going to get richer in the long run. All right? Because most time that's where the people have a problem. Now I have someone that live in where I live, in the estate where I live. The person is putting his house for sale right now because the paradigm is that the children and the wife, they are no more in the country. And so the house is too big for him to live in it alone. And I understand. So what is he doing now? He's putting the house for sale. Some people will say, no, I can't sell the house. I can sell the house. We build this house. And a possessor have a dream house. An investor have a house that fund his dream. Do you get it different now? A possessor have a dream house. A possessor, will say, this is my dream house. It's a nightmare. It's a scam. Somebody lied to you. There is nothing called a dream house because your dream is transcending. Your dream is expanding. Nothing like a dream house. But there's something like a house that fund your dream. You see, so I want to own houses that fund my dream. What's my dream? Ability to live, to give an expression to my goal, ability to travel around the world, ability to be able to send my children to school in the best schools in the world, ability to take my children around the world, ability to fund other children, ability to help people to fund their dreams in life in the way show kindness to the people that by all circumstances and conditions they can help themselves, ability to have asset that can fund that without funding it by my own sweat. So I don't have dream house. I have houses that fund my dream. That is it. I don't have dreamland. I have lands that can pay for my dream. So someone is trying to sell you a dream house. There is nothing like that. By the way, the person is trying to sell you the dream house so that he can fund his own dream life. You need to understand, and I'm giving you this trick because it works. So a possessor have a dream house, an investor have a house that fund his dream. Which one are you? Now, are you seeing the limitation? Are you seeing why you are literally trying to do what you're trying to do? So one day I was working with someone and we're breaking down this process. I was asking him to buy a particular apartment for almost 300 million, about 10 of the apartment. And this apartment will generate for him 30 million in a year or more in terms of rental. So in less than 10 years, he will have made his money. Or he can take the 300 million to go and build his dream house, and that will be the end. You see, what is the essence of building a dream house that will have a nightmare on the bed? What's the essence? You build a dream house with a nightmare, or you have houses that fund your dream and you have a sweet sleep. Now, you need to get these things done. You need to have this clarity. What do I really want? A dream life or a dream house? Now, I need you to write that down. I need you to post that on the word. Dream life versus dream house. Which one do you want? You see, there is a dream lifestyle that you crave for. Why not buy houses that can fund that? Why not buy land that can be able to pay for your dream in the coming days and the coming years? Now, that is the difference between investors and possessors. 90% of buyers of land or buyers of houses have possessors in the are possessive in their perception. They have lost this dream all their life, and many of them are following the news, the entertainers, the sellers of houses, which is not bad, but they are trying to sell things and appeal to some things in you. But how sustainable is that? So differentiate between the possessor and the investor. Not being able to do that is what causes a problem. Another thing is to follow the miracle of a decade. There's so much that can happen within a decade. Now, some of us think that a decade is too far for things to happen, but a decade is not too far if you truly plan it. Do you know anyone? If you're 30-year-old now, by the time you follow the model that I'm sharing with you, by the time you are 40, you will have been multimillionaire or billionaire like me. Or if you're in your 40, by the time you're 50, someone is 50 and say, eesh, 10 years. But you know what? It's not better to be a richer at the age of 60 than to be a broke ass by the age of 60. If you're 60 and you think nothing can happen, what about becoming a richer person at the age of 670 than a beggar at the age of 70? And I say this, if you're not going to leave anything behind, don't leave anyone behind. And a lot of people don't understand this, because one of the responsibility of parents is a responsibility of legacy. Our children must start faster and easier than us. You see, your children must not start from the scratch, because they are not ATM card. They must not start from the scratch. They are not ATM card. Don't let anybody lie to you. Your children must not start from the scratch. Somebody must give them a leverage. And if you don't know how to buy the future, and you don't know how to buy the future because you don't know where to shop, but if you know where to shop, you can buy the future. And I'm giving you the principles of knowing where to shop so that you can buy the future. So having said that, how do you shop for real estate? Creating the value from the inside of you to projecting into the society there and be able to see what can happen. So follow this template, follow this model. What are the template? The first template is a C. What is a C? I call it the pattern of commerce. The pattern of commerce. Now, when I was living in Nigeria, there were markets on this side. This side is already fully occupied, and the other side is a bush. The other side, it just a road, an highway that separate this place like heaven and earth, that separate this place from the other side. But because people don't have the spectacle, the framework, the spectacle to behold the word form, they were not able to see the missing structure, the asset that is waiting for them to create the future. And that is what all my parents and the male parents of soft couple of my guys that we all grew up together never saw. Let me give you an instance again. When I was growing up, I was going to primary school. Now, when I got into secondary school, and when I got into secondary school, my friend and I, which his own parent built a house in the same axis where we are living, and he used to tell me in 2005, am I correct? In 1997, 1998, my friend would tell me, I'm trying not to mention his name. My friend would tell me, and he would tell me that his father, which father was late at that time, and that his dad bought a land in a place called Shangisha. And that time, remember, we are living in Nigeria. Shangisha is where you call Magodo, and Magodo, where we have Magodo Central. We call it the banana island of the mainland. We have an estate there, by the way, called Magodo Central. It's one of the biggest estates in Lagos right now, especially in the heart of the city of Lagos. But prior to that time, my friend, we mentioned that when we were in secondary school, and me and some other ignorant, unenlightened fellow that we were, we will laugh at him and we say, "What are you talking about? Where is that one? That place must be a bush, Shangisha." I've forgiven myself right now for even, uttering such a ignoramus statement from my mouth, because this is what happened. You can buy the future. Someone need to put this thing online, put it there. You can buy the future if you know where to shop. And there is a pattern for shopping for your future. And this is what I'm sharing with you today. So the first pattern is a pattern of commerce. Where is commerce? See, where is commerce? When Victoria Island was developed, Lekki was not nowhere to be found. By the way, for those people that know a little bit of environmental history, you will know the place we call Lekki today was once called Maroko Sandfield. It was in the era of Abacha that they changed the place and they changed it to what we now call Lekki Peninsula. So that time it was a sandfield land. That's why you call it Maroko Sandfield. That place was sandfield. In case you don't know, that place was full of water. It was sandfield largely. And so people that were living in Lekki, the development stopped at the law school at the time. When you're going on that road at the time, it was a hell. Oh, complete hell. And so a couple of things started happening. People started migrating a little bit because where you are now, if you want to be great, oh my goodness. Okay, I'll share this with you. The point is, the first rule is the rule of commerce. The rule of commerce. The rule of commerce. Because you see, the wealth of real estate comes in two dimensions, two markets. There is a hot market and there is an emerging market. The wealth, if you want to be rich, you buy property from an emerging market. And the pattern I'm giving you today is a pattern of the emerging market. If you're already rich, you can buy from an hot market. What's an hot market? An hot market is a market that is already popular. It's a market that's already known. The emerging market may not be popular, but it will make you prosper. So a lot of people, because it's not popular, they don't see it. They don't have a frame of looking at it so that they can buy the future, because you can buy the future if you know where to shop for it. So the first tool of buying the future is what I call the pattern of commerce. You have to look at it. There is commerce. Because remember, there are two relativities of lands and people. It is this combination of these two things that will make you, knowing how to use them, is will make you to create things. So where is commerce? Where is commerce? Where is commerce? Now, wherever you find commerce, you will find people. So the pattern is the pattern of commerce. The pattern of commerce. So you pull this commerce, you begin to look at it. So when I buy land, when I go to places, and they will show me three lands. One is more expensive than the other, and I will choose to buy the one that is expensive because the one that needs to be expensive will make it more prosperous, because it follows the pattern that will make me rich. So because for me, it's certain. It's not guaranteed. It's certain. It has to happen. So the first thing that makes it certain for me is the pattern of commerce. The second thing that makes it happen for me is a pattern of migration. Who is moving in this direction? What is coming to this direction? Now, remember, it's an emerging market. I'm not looking for hot market. A particular area may not make you rich forever, because becoming prosperous with real estate is not straight line, it's a circle. And most people don't understand this circle. So they stay in one point. They ain't looking out for where is the circle, where is the migration, where is it going to? I call it VM. What is that VM? Where is the value migration? Remember what I call it value. Value is what proceeds from people, what people can use things for. So value migration. My eyes is on the value migration. Where are people going to? Where are people going to? The value migration. The value migration. The third thing is the population. The pattern of population, the people. Now, a lot of people are moving out of Nigeria. That's what we say. But in the spice of all the jackpot in Nigeria, a new statistic is still being released, and Nigeria is now 200 and something million. Much more. That means, by the way, it means that our population is not what they say our population is. Lagos is the sixth largest economy in Africa. Lagos, Nigeria. So the question is, in this sixth largest economy in Africa, what do you own in it? If you follow the law of Lagos, then you look at Ogun State, it enjoyed the law of proximity to Lagos. Where are the connecting points in Lagos and Ogun State that you can see the commerce, that you can see the migration, that you can see the population? And the next thing is the pattern of employment. Now, what does that mean? The pattern of employment is this, and that is amazing. That is something that you see, because wherever there is employment, you know what happened? Wherever there is employment, many years ago, the migration process. Let me share a simple migration law with you. Many years ago, for environmental history, many years ago, two things I will share with you. The Babangida administration built what we call Third Mainland Bridge. And when Third Mainland Bridge was built, before Third Mainland Bridge was built, there is a place called Oworoshoki, and Oworoshoki where we have what we call the famous Bagada today. Those places, the value that people place on them were very low because of law of mobility. So mobility and migration are similar. Because of the law of mobility and migration, the value that people, remember, land does not have value in itself. The value that people place on land because of circumstances of ownership, what they can use it for, what it can help them to achieve, the benefit it can give to them. But when that bridge was built, guess what happened? Something just changed totally. Now, that's number one. Now, in Babatunde Fashola, His Excellency Babatunde Fashola built a couple of bridges in Lagos, and one of the bridge that they built in Lagos was in an area where I grew up in Ijesha. There's a place called Sele, and it connected before. When you want to go from this side of Ijesha to the other side of Okota, you have to go through a tedious process of going from this process to get to a solo and climb the Yano Solo bridge and begin to turn back to pass Aswani. Whatever process is very tedious. But guess what happened? It follows the law, the pattern of mobility and the pattern of migration. Ability for people to migrate from one point to the other. And that being said, it changed this whole process of this place to the other place. So what do you need to hear? One of the things that will help you to create value and to become rich is that don't listen to news. Use news. Don't consume news. Listen to news to know what is migrating to where. Because money enjoy movement. Money moves. So you need to understand money moves. And many a time, the news that you listen to is communicating in an hidden dialect, hidden vocabulary to you where the money is moving to based on regulations and some certain things. Now, we have a property somewhere in the Kotun of Lagos where we acquired 30 acres of land. And when we acquired the land, we needed to begin, the place is already highly populated because we followed the pattern. But then we started doing some community work, building drainages for the community that is costing us almost like 40 million. And in the course of doing the work, the government of the day came to the environment and started doing the entire community, connecting it to Iyanoba and all of that. Now, this property value is going to go massively crazy in the next couple of weeks. In case you're watching this and you want to enjoy this kind of pattern from that land, just put something on the comment and say the land, the PG land in a cartoon that Mr. Tadikash or Tadikash, beg your pardon, talk about. I would like to own part of it. Put it there. Someone will get back to you and they can show you the model. It may be for you, it may not be for you, but there is no harm in asking question and getting clarity. But I'm just using that as a framework and as an example for you. So the government of the day, if you look at the Egbeda axis of Lagos, if you're looking at the Lekki axis of Lagos now going to Epe, what changes Epe? Ability to make mobility more easier for people. So without not politicizing anything, the administration of Ambode really tried for the people of that axis and they created a new economics framework and landscape by creating mobility. Mobility is one of the patterns that make you get rich for sure through real estate. You need to know where this thing is going. But most of you have a eyes where you can see because there is no pattern that can help your framework to be able to see things in a proper way. So the pattern of migration, the pattern of population, the pattern of employment. Now, look at what is happening in Dangote Refinery today. So it's going beyond just having a land in Dangote Refinery. Ability to own our own land, like we built almost 120 units of apartments ongoing, just directly beside Lekki Free Trade Zone. People are buying it and they're going to be catching out a lot of, short-term rent and all of that. But for some of you that also own land in those areas, what do you think you can do right now? If you look at the migration, if you look at the low population, the number of people already working in that places now. Remember, people's benefit. What is their needs right now? What is their desire? Hotels are springing up. Resort places need to come up more. Short let of apartment, restaurants, car wash that will be massive, a wonderful, responsible bar that people can relax on when they close from work. Now, these are the value that you begin to create for people's benefit, and this is what you can now begin to use this real estate for, because the pattern of employment is now thriving in that place. Now, so these are the patterns. The pattern of commerce, enterprise, the pattern of migration, the pattern of population, the pattern of employment. And lastly, which is not for every area, but the pattern of lifestyle. That means what kind of lifestyle do they want? Some area want more, fancy lifestyle, nightlife, and all of that. Now, this is the model that, if properly understood and followed through, guess what's going to happen to you? You are going to create wealth for sure. You are going to create abundance of resources. You are going to create abundance of fortune. I'm certain about what I've just told you, because this is what works. What are you buying? If you show me a land that you want to buy, and I'm not going to tell you buy it or not. I remember one of my students, a medical doctor in Delta State. One time, he wanted to sell the land of ease, and he just called me and he said, "I think I want to sell this." He was following emotion, and I said, "Why do you want to sell it?" And I asked him to read one of my books, Compare Strategy, and he picked up the book. He paid for it, I think 5,000, and he read the book. And when he finished reading the book, he sent me a message and said, "Thank you very much." That as I was reading the book, I get to a page, it's like my eyes was open. Something opened my eyes, and I began to see opportunities under my feet. The truth is, has the opportunity been there always? But when you change the way you look at things, what you are looking at will change. And so many of you are sitting on fortune today. Someone have told you to buy a land in a Janiki, you are not buying. Somebody have told you to buy a land in Ekpe, you are not buying. It's not your fault, and I will tell you, it is the fault of the people presenting these ideas to you, because they do not understand the framework I'm telling you. And some of you have bought a land that have granted you nothing, because you're just looking at this. I bought this land for the past 7 years. The value is not great. And we ask them, what is the price? They'll say it's still the same. Why is it going to be the same? Didn't two people say that land are not created equal? Because it is the value of the people that possess the land that determines the value of the land. Land does not have value on itself. So what am I saying to you? Become an investor, not a possessor. Because if you become an investor, you will begin to see opportunities where other people are seeing difficulties. And how do you see that? You see that from the spectacle in which you are looking at things. And what have I presented to you today? I've presented you a spectacle. I've presented you a framework. I've presented you an idea that, if you begin to look at it, we're launching properties in Ogun State right now. And I can tell you, everything that we have done there is based on this framework. We're launching a couple of properties in Abuja right now. Everything we have done there is based on this framework. All of the properties we have launched in Lagos. We're launching a property, I think, on the 4th of February. And as of today, almost 60 people have signed up, 60 plots of the land that they signed up for. And it's not yet in the market, it's just on a private placement. But what is the enjoyment that people enjoy? Because the place have an amazing consciousness of occupiers, fully wonderful environment, one of the most beautiful environment in Ekpe. Number two, it is just 2 minutes. When I say it, a minute, you can verify. It's about less than 5 minutes drive from Lagos State University of Education and Gaba College of Technology Ekpe campus. Three primary secondary schools are just 2 minutes walk from the school, from the land. It's a completely dry land where you can build an amazing residence for people that love nature and they love a good life, surrounded by electricity, surrounded by resorts, and it's beautiful. And people have been signing up for this from South Africa, from America, from the UK, from Belgium, from different parts of the world. Why is this so? Because we use a formula. We're the only company in Nigeria today and in Africa that use the formula to buy a land. I don't want you to be alone. I want you to be the same. I want you to use the formula to buy a land because prosperity is a formula, it's not emotion. So most people buy asset by instinct, but we buy asset by design. You see, most of the properties that will make you rich, you cannot Google it, because it's not cannot be Googled. So how do you get it? It by using the spectacle I've just shared with you today to look at every asset. When somebody presents a land to you, when you work on the road, when you see an asset, begin to question things, begin to use the framework, begin to ask yourself a question. What can we use this land for? Begin to play with your head, begin to play, begin to do some maths with some things. Okay. Let me give you, as I begin to round off today. Few years ago, we bought about 2 or 3 land. One of the land that we have today is called Amani Island. Some of the investors that even bought the land do not totally understand what the land is all about. Some of them still wonder, today, when are we going to have this and all of that? But we bought the land that is surrounded by a very peaceful lake that connects even to the border of Lagos to Cotonou. Simple, fantastic lake that connects to the big sea, and it connects you to Yanopaja and all of that. We own about 60 acres of land surrounded by this lake, and we decided to begin to sandfield this land. As of today, we have sold almost 40, I have almost 50 investors on that land. What do? We have filled about 15 acres of the land. And today, the land that people bought for 3 million when I invested is now about 12 million in less than 2 years. What really happened? Because we followed the model that we have just shown to you today. We bought the land somewhere in a suburb of Lagos that people thought it has a domestic issues. But we know we bought the land and we followed the formula. Some people decided to hook onto the land and bought it for 6 million. And in less than 9 months, the land was being sold for 25 million. In the secondary market, not us, because we sold it to the investors. The investors were selling it for 25 million. Why? Because it is a formula. Now today, I've shared the larger part of this formula with you. And what do I want you to do with it? If you want me to help you, you can always come to us. So today, I want to buy land and I want you to follow this formula to buy land for me. That is good. We're going to help you. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. So there is a number that will be on the screen. And this number, you can just send an SMS to it. And it's going to help you. And that number is there on the screen. Say, Tali, I would like you to help me. I would like you to help me. I would like to buy land. I would like to follow the formula that you have used. A few years ago, about 10 years ago, someone took me to a part of Lagos and they asked me to buy land. And that was the beginning of using this formula. And I bought this land for less than 2 million. I bought this land for less than 2 million. And in 5 years, I was being offered about 20 million for that land. That is one of the joke. But that's not the biggest deal for me. There was another land I was taking to in Lagos and I bought it. And I bought that land for, I think I bought that land for 40 something million. And precisely about 2.5 years, the land that I bought for less than 40 million, someone offers to give me, I want to be accurate with the money. Someone offered to give me 380 million to acquire the land from me. Tell you what changed? I followed the formula. So I'm not guaranteeing you that you're going to get the same result I've just shared with you right now instantly. But if you master the process I've shared with you, I'm certain that you can do this and you can do more of it. So there will be a line on the screen that if you want, but most importantly, you don't have to get back to me. You can use what I've just shared with you and make your own life. My whole idea of coming to you this day is to help you, to serve you, and to help you to change your life. Because there is no possibility in one that is not in all. There is nothing one can do that all cannot do. If I've shared my success with you, is not to impress you, but to impress on you that you can change your life. And if you have to change your life, you have to change your life. The good news is, what I've done, you can do, and you can do much more. The bad news is, if you don't follow these methods there, you will see other people succeeding and you begin to envy them and become jealous of them. And there is no need to be jealous of anyone because envy is the highest state of ignorance. You don't need to be envious of other people of what you can do for yourself. Why become envious of prosperity that you can create for yourself? So, what do you need to do? Listen to this, use what you have written, follow the action plan. And in case you think, oh, I need more clarity, I need more intensive coaching with Tade Cash. But Tade, I want to acquire properties and I would like to follow your own model that you have shared with us. Implementation, you can come to me. It's not free, but I will help you. But most importantly, I've shared this principle with you. What do I want you to do with it? Go and use it. My biggest gift of giving you this for free. In my private coaching of using this CertainWay formula, in an hour section is £1,000,000 that people pay me. And I've done this for a lot of people, but I've given it to you for free today because I want you to start. As we move into the next month in the year 2023, you can create the success that you have always dreamt of. Is there any comment on the screen? Any question that people are asking? I want to give 2 or 3 minutes to be able to buttress. If there's any question that you want to ask me, please go ahead now by typing it there, and I'm going to answer it for you right now. But if there's none, I'll be saying to you, I hope you have picked something today from what I put down. Please use it, because knowledge is useless if it's not used. It is the knowledge that you use that will change you. And I believe you can change. And for you to change, you have to change. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm still one of your favorite guys alive. I wanted to see you succeed every single day. That's why I'm here today. Until I see you again, peace, love, and cash flow. Bye for now.
I've got that lightning inside me, son of a god. I'm like a titan that's rising, on just you watch. I'm stepping into fate, there is no time to waste. I've got that lightning inside me, this is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. I'm cranking up on the throttle, victory is mine. Show you the harder the battle, harder I fight. I've come too far to quit. Step back, I'm going in. I'm cranking up on the throttle. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are made. Like iron from the fire, getting stronger. This is how legends are made. Above it all, untouchable.